to his everlasting credit, Ustani said, you do what you have to do, I will do what my job is required to do. And they have the audacity to put the institution and the personnel of the International Criminal Court under sanctions and to threaten to arrest them should they come to the United States, even for a visit to the UN. And if you want to understand why most of the rest of the world hasn't sided with the US and with NATO on Ukraine, you have to go back to this history. The extent to which we have picked and chosen which parts of the rules-based order we are going to enforce on others and which parts we are going to violate ourselves. It's a very long history and anything but distinguished history. So there is all that, but then you think, well, could we actually arrest and put on trial at the dock in The Hague George W. Bush, Tony Blair? Well, you could try, but you'd let loose another world war and you destroy the UN. So is it worth that effort in the process, knowing that you'll fail anywhere? I wouldn't think so. But we just keep trying so that, you know, when we signed the criminal code and brought it into existence, I was asked as, this will get longer and longer as an answer. I was asked as a UN official resident in Tokyo to go and speak to the Japanese parliament on that. And I'm pleased to say that my submission, along with others, helped them to actually ratify the statute. And my answer to them was, and something that we got into one of the Kofi Annan's reports in the end, was it was a reform report that I wrote, which might explain why I got there, or one of his annual reports, doesn't matter. And what we said was, look, the existence of the court and the Rome Statute doesn't guarantee that any torturer will face his or her day in court. But what it changes is the expectation. 15 years ago, any ruler could be absolutely confident they would never be held internationally accountable in an international criminal court. Today, no ruler can be confident that in his or her lifetime, he or she may not have to answer at The Hague for the acts of atrocities. That is an enormous normative shift. And the same with the responsibility to protect that was mentioned. It has had its failures, it's pretty much dormant at the moment. But we do have it as an enshrined principle. In terms of its legal status, it remains the organizing principle of choice for the international community to coalesce around how to deal with mass atrocity crimes, where the state is unwilling or unable or is itself the perpetrator. So we proceed slowly and steadily in the normative advancement. And I do believe that the international situation has progressed to the point where the old formula of realism espoused by Hans Morgenthau, and is the Bible for every foreign affairs department in the world, that international politics, like all politics, is a struggle for power, is no longer true. It's half true. What we have today is the international politics is a struggle for the ascendancy of competing normative frameworks based on the combination of hard power, but also ideals and visions and ideas for good in both the ethical and efficiency sense governance. So we have made progress. The world is better today overall than it was ever before. We are healthier, wealthier, better educated, more conscious of one another's vulnerabilities and needs, and willing to empathize and share. Remember how governments were shamed behind the actions of their citizens in responding to the Boxing Day tsunami in 2004. The amount of aid given was pitiful. People opened their wallets much more generously, and then governments followed. So that's why I keep coming back to this, pinning my faith in the fundamental decency of human beings around the world.
Yeah.
That's the aspiration and the ideal that the UN represents. You can corrupt the structures, you can corrupt the personnel, One of my great regrets is nobody ever tried to bribe me with $10 million to do something. That's a different issue. But that ideal we can never afford to let go of. And that's where the optimism is important as well. We have to keep trying. The world has got better. It needs to get better still. It will not happen by itself. We need to be engaged. And we need to move from the politics of street protests to the politics of engagement. It's a mistake to pin all the hopes just in the UN system, because it is subject to all sorts of cross-political pressures. It's captive to them. But it's also the way to connect us to other peoples around the world, working with us to help make the world better. We can't afford to give up on that.
Yeah, thanks Ramesh for a great talk actually. I'm so pleased that we've recorded it, because I think this will be such a valuable resource for us to communicate as the United Nations Association, and talking about the power of the grassroots is really why we have United Nations Association.